What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Raw review with me, Rick, aka Judge Raw, or just Raw, or whatever you want to call me. And today, I'm going to be reviewing House of Cards, Season 3. And that's right, I'm not just going to be doing video game reviews, even though video games is my niche, kind of, my thing, but I'll also be reviewing all kinds of things. I'm going to be reviewing TV shows, I'm going to be reviewing movies, I'll review anything. Food. Maybe you'll see a food review or two on here. So, being new to, and by the way, I'm going to be eating a bowl of cereal while I do this review, so you'll be seeing me in my natural habitat. I'm eating Frosted Flakes, by the way, if you're curious. But I'll try to, keep that to a minimum. I don't want to interrupt the review too much. So, I just got done watching Season 3 of House of Cards, and being new to the review thing, I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted to do it. Whether, let's see. Well, I've watched all 3 of the seasons. I haven't watched Season 1 or Season 2 since they originally came out. But I think I'm going to go ahead and say this, and I'm not sure how popular of an opinion this is going to be, but I felt Season 3 overall was probably the strongest season of House of Cards yet. Overall. I mean, there's still some issues I have with it. Season 1 was overall a very good season, good start to the show, introduced Frank Underwood and what he's all about. But the strongest thing to me about House of Cards is when it deals with the political drama of everything, and a lot of that was in Season 3. Season 3 was a very politically driven season, as opposed to Season 2 and Season 1, which, towards the end of Season 1, which got very personal with Frank, start showing him so much as a ruthless politician and more of a ruthless just person in general. And I know that the series started off with kind of like a ruthless kind of thing, but you saw that as like I saw that as a way of showing what Frank was all about as far as being who he was as a politician. But later in the season, he became a murderer, which maybe he's murdered before, maybe he was already a murderer. I don't know. But at that point, when it kind of went from being just a political drama to just being kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. And Season 2 was awkward in some places. Overall, it was an okay season. For me, I feel House of Cards has always been a story about Frank, and that's it. Because he's the strongest, obviously. Kevin Spacey is the strongest part of this series. Everything else kind of revolves around him and his story. And I feel like Season 2 was him just like maneuvering, and there was a little bit of awkwardness, especially when we got to the scene with him, Meacham, and Claire, when they got the threesome that came out of nowhere. I mean, maybe if like the bisexuality thing had been alluded to previously, it wouldn't have come out of nowhere. And then even in Season 3, it was kind of like brought up in a way, where it's kind of with him and Tom, the guy that was writing his book. But I mean, I guess it's an interesting, character trait of his, where he's more, and it kind of makes sense as far as his character being, like, more of a primal, just, like, no-nonsense kind of guy, rather than someone who adheres to any kind of, conform, I'm not sure what the word is. He doesn't conform to things, he's not just this one thing. He's a very primal person, I feel, that kind of just, does whatever he wants, whatever he's feeling at that moment. which is interesting because he's a primal animal in a very, controlled and manufactured arena, which is politics, which makes it interesting. But this season, first of all, I'll talk about the low points. My biggest problem with this season is Claire. And it's a problem that I've had with Claire since the beginning, where she kind of becomes, I understand why at some points Frank is with her, because they're very similar in some ways, but there's some times when Claire lets her emotions take over, and kind of like, it's a typical way of portraying a woman, in my opinion, where she becomes less of like less of an machine like Frank is, and becomes more emotional and becomes more demanding of Frank and what he's giving her, which at this point he's giving her the White House and that kind of thing. So it's kind of like how much more do you want? And I can see at the end why Frank got so frustrated with her, because he's given her so much. He even gave her, and she did mess up. She messed up terribly, where she caused a lot of the issues this season, and she couldn't come to terms with herself and come to terms with why Frank had to make decisions that he made with regard to her career, that kind of thing. So, I don't know. I'm not Claire's biggest fan, I guess. Robin Wright, the actress, plays her fine, but the character, I feel, has become, especially this season, more of a typical female archetype, where she, maybe I'm being too harsh, because she does want to be her own person, I guess, to an extent, but she's also the wife of the President of the United States, and I think that has some demands of it that perhaps she should recognize, in my opinion. So I can see why there's some awkwardness between her and her demand for, being treated with more respect from Frank, and being given more opportunity, and Frank just trying to be the president, because Frank already has his own responsibilities. He can't always be worrying about what Claire wants. He needs to be worrying about what the country needs and that kind of thing. Even though a lot of what he does isn't for the country, it's for himself and blah blah blah. So, what else? It was interesting how the plot went from one crisis to another, and how towards the end it became more political theater with him and the debate and all, him versus Heather Dunbar. I'm interested in seeing where she goes next. A lot of this season hinged on Doug is probably my favorite character in the series at this point. That was, I'm probably going to sound bad, but I was ecstatic when he went back and did what he did with Rachel at the end. Spoilers, just spoilers, by the way. Not saying what he did with Rachel, but I know there's a lot of seasons him looking for Rachel and that kind of thing. So, or at least having people look for her on his behalf. So, but yeah, I was surprised, honestly shocked that Doug was still alive after the end of the second season. Blew my mind a little bit. That was because when Frank drives up into the funeral, you see him going, not the funeral, but the graveyard. I figured he was going to go see Doug, and it turns out he was just going to see his pop, which he doesn't really care for apparently, because he peed on the grave. Frank continued to be just a ruthless politician, but I'm glad that it didn't get to the point where, like in season 1 when he killed Peter Russo, and season 2 when he killed Kate Mara, Zoe, he didn't cross that line this season, because I feel that's the weakest part of the series, is Frank Like, I can understand when Frank has to take care of something like that, but he should have someone that does that for him. Or maybe even, like, it just doesn't happen. There's other ways it deals with those problems. You know, he's destroyed people's political careers before, Raymond Tusk and that kind of thing. So I don't see why that's necessary as a thing. You know, why that has to be part of it. Because he is the president of the United States. He is a politician. So I feel like it kind of takes away from the realism and the most interesting part, which is the political aspect of the series. So that's my review of season 3. What else? Is there anything I want to touch on before I wrap it up? But yeah, something interesting is I just recently stopped watching Deadwood, an old HBO show, and coming back to this show, and I realized how many Deadwood, alumni are in this series. And they introduced the Kate something or other, the one who was sleeping with the author. She was in Deadwood, as well as Sons of Anarchy. And then we have Jackie. She was in Deadwood. And I think I saw her in something else as well recently that I don't remember. And then Raymond Tusk was, of course, George Hurst in Deadwood. So it's good to see, them getting on with their lives after Deadwood. Because that was after I just watched it, but it was absolutely a phenomenal show. I'd like to see more of it, of course, but that ship has long sailed. Although I would like to see Al Swearingen come back to TV. Don't remember his real name at the moment, but that'd be nice. Of course, I'm a Justified fan, so I like to see Timothy Olyphant all the time. And I'll be doing a review of the final Justified season as soon as it wraps up. And so that's everything. I appreciate you watching. Of course, you can always follow me on, and you can see it over there. You can see up there, where I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and it'll show Twitter eventually. And over here, I am on Twitch. And of course, I'm on YouTube. You're watching me on YouTube. At JudgeRaw00. On Twitter. On Twitch. On Instagram. JudgeRaw Twitch. On Facebook. Simple to follow. And please subscribe. I appreciate all your support. Anything you can give me, fantastic. Thanks for watching, and look forward to my next review, which I'm not sure what it's going to be. I'm going to be playing Hotline Miami 2. It's coming out tomorrow, because today is Monday, so look forward to that. Until next time. Well, I'll be streaming Hotline Miami 2, hopefully, on Twitch. So, until next time, thank you.